Okay, so before you watch this video, make sure you have completed your Desmos activity because this video is going to show you how we go ahead and solve those Desmos activities, especially the one about the three situations, and what your diagram should look like and how to find and write the equation. So let's take a look on the first one. It says on Friday, Eleanor ran 5 miles. So I'm going to start with a big tape diagram here. And I'm going to write here that she ran 5 miles. Before this, she ran X miles. Okay, so I'm going to go and say that she also ran X miles for a weekly total of 20 miles. Okay, so all of that should add together to give 20. The next thing we need to do is to write an equation and then determine the value of X. Okay, so your equation should take the form of one of the ones that I have written here. If you have a different one, then feel free to comment on it or show me it on your Google Classroom. But I use the diagram here. 5 plus x is going to equal 20, or 20 is equal to x plus 5, or 20 minus x equals 5. Now, what I need to do in order to solve it, I need to have the x by itself. We're going to isolate the x. All right, we want the x to be on one side of the equal sign all by itself. And I can see that x here, my equation here, allows me to do that. So here, x is equal to 20 minus 5. I'm actually going to rewrite it because I prefer to have, and most mathematicians prefer to have the x or the variable on the left. So x is equal to 20 minus 5. So x must equal 15 miles. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. Andre's school has 20 clubs, which is 5 times as many as his cousin's school. His cousin's school has X clubs. All right, so let's start off with our tape diagram here. And let's see what information we have. Andre's school has 20 clubs. Okay, so that's going to be our total amount of clubs that Andre's school has. He's got 20, which is 5 times as many as his cousin's school. So I need to divide my tape diagram into 5 equal pieces. I'm going to try to get them as equal as I can. His cousin's school has X amount of clubs. So one of these is going to be X. The next part, excuse me, the next part is to write an equation to determine the value of X. So I'm going to go ahead and put X into each of these, just so I can see it clearer. And I'm going to pause while I write the equations, and you should too. Okay, so here are some examples of the equations you might have written. I can see x plus x plus x plus x plus x equals 20, or simpler, 5x equals 20. I can see that x is going to be equal to 20 divided by 5, or even 20 divided by x is going to equal 5. Now, we need to decide which one of these we're going to use to solve, and again, we want x to be by itself. If you didn't write an equation with x by itself, what you would need to do is to isolate that x. You'll need to get it by itself. So maybe, for example, you wrote 5x equals 20. All right, 5 is the coefficient, x is our variable, and it's going to equal 20. Now, in order to get x by itself, you need to undo whatever operation is there. So we know that a coefficient is going to multiply x. So in order to do that, you're going to have to divide by that number. Okay, so you divide this side by 5, divide this side by 5, and you're going to be left with x equals 20 divided by 5, which is the same as my green one here. Going ahead and let's solve that. We're going to get x equals 4. Don't worry too much if you didn't understand how to isolate the x right now. We will do some more of that in the future, but I'd like you to start thinking about how you will isolate the variable, which means get the variable by itself, all on one side of the equation, so you can solve the other side of the equation. We will do more of that in the future, so if you didn't understand that part, that's okay for now, but we will do it again later. Okay, so the last situation here, we have Diego. He's volunteering at an animal shelter. He divided 5 cups of cat food equally to feed 20 cats. Each cat received X cups of food. So let's go ahead. I've still got my nice big tape diagram, and I add my total here. So I look at the total. He's dividing cat food. So the total number of cat food is 5 cups. And he's dividing them amongst 20 cats. All right, so I'm going to pause here while I do my 20 here. Okay, so you can see that I've got 20 different parts to my tape diagram, and each one of those is a cat. Each cat receives X amount of food. So he receives this amount of food. So now our next job is to write the equation that's represented by this tape diagram. So for this tape diagram, I see two really simple equations here. 5 is equal to 20x. Remember, that means 20 times x. Or 5 divided amongst 20 will equal x. So now to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and use the equation that has x by itself. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it this way. X equals 5 divided by 20. Just because I like everything on the left. That's also going to equal to 5 over 20 because it's just a fraction. Simplifying both of those, dividing both by 5, we're going to end up with 1/4. So x equals 1/4. Okay, pause here and let me know how you went. Okay, so maybe you didn't arrive at x equal 5 divided by 20, and instead you saw that 5 was equal to 20 groups of x, or 20x. I'm going to show you how you could isolate that x. So remember, 5 equals 20x is the same as 5 equals 20 times x. Okay, remember there's that multiplication sign in the middle. So now to split them up, to undo the multiplication, we would need to divide. And so that's how we would end up with 5/20 equals x, because I would divide this by 20, and I would divide this by 20.